Sorry, so make sure the video is at the right.
Right.
Stand in front with the.
All set?
Just come this way a little bit.
Yep.
So, let me just do this.
Sound check.
Okay, you should be able to tap here.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Hi, my name is Erin Rehil. Most of you here know me as a painter, but I'm learning to see myself as a bit more of an interdisciplinary artist. My thesis work is titled The Dream Explorer's Study. It's an installation consisting of a number of discrete artworks, including one painting on canvas, 4 framed paintings on paper, and several sculptures. I've also included poems, notes and sketches, found objects, and both auditory and olfactory components as well. Now, before I get started, here's a brief video tour, and you'll hear me narrating one of my dream journal entries. And this audio clip is taken from the 52-minute audio loop that plays inside the installation. With a small group, I enter a room filled with a tangle of exotic plants, as well as a floor lamp. The plants are symbiotic, I can tell. A guy in the group admires a potted palm whose fronds end in bushy orange blossoms like grandiflora roses. The plant is tangled with another, but can be carefully pulled aside to examine. I wonder at whether the lamp is necessary for their well-being, in spite of the windows present in the room, and if they have a symbiotic relationship with it too. So just to recap what you saw, there were some ceramic sculptures in that space, along with a carved candle, paintings, poems, manipulated photos that I took, and dream journal entries, along with a wall treatment and a collection of found objects. Mic check? Is that better? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So, and thank you, Isabelle. Now, I've been working with dreams and the subconscious for several years. I also make a lot of work about pagan spirituality and the occult. This project is where I'm hoping to tie both of those realms together. In my personal life, I'm a witch. And my favorite definition of a witch is someone with uncommon knowledge and someone who communes with the unknown. I don't think you could find a better source for the uncommon and the unknown than the human psyche. And I agree with Carl Jung that the pursuit of psychic wholeness is something that's important for all of us as humans. I've been keeping a dream journal off and on since I was about 16. Last year, I rekindled that practice and started mining my own dreams for symbols and themes that I found to be either emotionally or spiritually significant. This is my dream journal. Now, some of these dreams then became poems, which I published on my website's blog. This step in the process helped me to better understand the dream sequences and to extract the components that I felt would be most important to represent visually. I began to make a series of paintings on paper using acrylic and ballpoint pen. By January of this year, I had 6 pieces done and felt pretty good about my progress. But now I needed to think about presentation because the white cube approach didn't feel immersive enough. I wanted to see the work in a domestic space. Imagine a Victorian library. Imagine Indiana Jones's office. Only instead of dinosaur bones and looted Egyptian artifacts, this space would be filled with objects dug up from the subconscious. I envisioned a dream explorer that would drink Blue Lotus tea, physically travel to these dream locales and draw from observation, or take photos, or make maps. They would collect specimens, then bring them back into the waking world to study. For example, here in the Crimson Depths, I encountered a room where the ceiling was caved in, and I could see massive honeycombs visible through the exposed concrete. Honey was dripping, and there were dead bees everywhere. Well, my explorer would scoop up some of that red honey and spread it on toast. What does it taste like? What special properties might it have? They would collect some of those dead bees and pin them up in a display case. Now, it was at this point that I started lying a little bit about my materials and my descriptions. I didn't list these as ceramic sculptures, although they are, because in this fictional setting, they're supposed to be recovered specimens. I continued working and world building. My intention was to transport these very private narratives from the personal into the public realm. This painting is 3 demiurges, a psyche at war. Now, this particular dream was about my ego and psychopomp in conflict with my shadow self. But I don't need for you as the viewer to necessarily know or care about that. The well in the upper left-hand corner of the painting was a real ancient well that I photographed when I lived in Oman 4 years ago. And again, that's a detail that's interesting to me, but you're free to interpret the work in a way that's meaningful for you. Ultimately, I'd like for you to start feeling curious about your own dreams and about what your own subconscious mind wants to show you. My goal with this project is to reveal more of the magic that already exists within the everyday. We all have these inner worlds, and I think we could benefit from letting this fantasy infuse our daily existence. Here we have Wedding Ritual, Voice of the Ancestors. I let the painting exist in an unfinished state in the installation because this office is meant to be a living, working space. And here we have the actual candle. I designed these pictographs and sigils on the candle to tell the story of what happened in the dream itself. It's a little bit meta. In the dream, I was conducting a ritual at someone's wedding party. To quote from my dream journal entry, I grab purple candles from the shelves in both hands and walk them toward the altar outside. As I approach, I begin to sing a wildly primal song from our deepest past, from the indigenous peoples of Siberia. The song grows in volume and power. I feel free and like I can achieve anything. This dream was about symbiotic plants. As you'll see, disembodied hands are a common motif in my work. They signify here that I was present in these dream environments, but that my actual identity wasn't so important. For anyone here who's into lucid dreaming, you might also know that one of the common techniques for asserting control over a dream is to force yourself to look down at your own hands. Disembodied hands are also common in the work of other contemporary female-bodied artists. It's been argued that the hands represent agency, resistance, and assertion of control over the outside world. Now, by contrast, in this next image, I was possessed by an external divine or otherworldly force. This was a powerful experience for me to dream about, and I chose to represent it using a reference to Kirlian photography. Kirlian photography was a 20th century technique for making contact print photos using high voltage electricity. It's considered a pseudoscience, but the coronal discharge, like what you can see here in the detail in blue, was thought to represent the human aura or soul. I'd like to wrap up by showing you two ceramic sculptures that are actually intended to be sculptures and not dream artifacts. So this first one here is called Phasing Through the Floor, and it depicts a common experience in my own dreams, which is the ability to pass through solid matter in order to hide and protect myself from attackers. This last one here is called The Earth Carried It in Her Belly. According to New Age beliefs, these labradorite stones are associated with protection, and they are also believed to enhance the vividness of dreams. So finally, I'd like to say thank you to all of my professors, my two kids back in Michigan, and everyone who helped support me throughout my time in this program. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, Hughes. Yes, I don't know much about astrology, but I think Mercury must be in retrograde or something. If that's the case, in our
That's a pseudoscience too.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm gonna miss you. I think you're a very strong person, especially the fact that you could do this while your children are in Michigan. And you came all the way to this point. I want to ask you a question about these rooms. So what do you envision in the future? With them, I mean, do you envision a house? Do you envision, like Chris Larson is an artist who would take a room and then turn it upside down and document that? Do you wish something like that, documentation or a installation elsewhere? And in what context? I guess I'm just looking for where you're gonna go next with this and building.
Oh my goodness, Sharon, thank you so much, first of all. And in terms of next steps, many of you will know this. This was my first attempt at doing installation work. I entered this program really feeling strongly that I was a painter. And so this represents kind of a new direction for me. I'm definitely open to doing more installations in the future. It's something that I really enjoyed. And I've been sort of toying with the idea of having my studio as an ongoing installation. Like actually having my next studio, wherever that may be, set up with a number of art objects that may kind of come and go as I might have shows and other things going on. But throughout it all, there would be some sort of a common space that would endure. So like studio as installation. I don't know, I'm thinking about that. Thank you.
Great presentation. That's really, really wonderful. Your work has really changed over the last 2 years, and it's last year if you can really focus on the idea of dreams and go about this practice of seeing dreams. I wonder how focusing on that and simply you're practicing on it, what you may have any kind of like insight seeking into your own self.
Aya, thank you so much for that. In terms of insights, into my own dreaming and dream journaling practice, I would say that in general, my dreams serve as like a barometer for how my life is going. And they help me to course correct, like if I'm not living my life according to my values, or, you know, I have a lot of anxiety, that's going to show up right away in my dreams. And keeping track of my subconscious in general makes my intuition a lot stronger, I feel. And that in turn helps me when I'm making big decisions in life, like when I chose to come to SVA, sight unseen, because it just felt right. Thank you.
Hey, so I heard speak about yoga before, but this is the first time that I started to sense a theme in those final images where you were talking about the disembodied hands being the female bodied artist, and I was realizing the way that you were like, and I am a practicing witch. Is there a sort of element of feminist critique of this at all? Because I somehow see us threading running through it, but you don't actually explicitly talk about it, or is it something you think about?
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for that question. That's a little bit complicated, because I am a feminist. I also identify as non-binary, which makes me then have to go back into feminism and sort of redefine what that actually is for me. And what it means to be in a woman's body, but also to not want to be restrained, or to not want to see the world within this binary that I find so restrictive. So I am a feminist and I love feminist artists. I don't know, sorry, I don't want to preemptively answer a question if someone was going to ask me about my influences, but like, for example, an artist that I really admire is Judy Chicago. Not just for the materials that she uses, but for the content of her work as well. So I'm definitely a feminist, and that's something that I care about. But to what extent is my work consciously about the female experience and about feminism? That I'm not sure. But that's a good question.
Hi, Erin. You talked a little bit about the difference between works in the room that are sculptures and works that are presented as green artifacts, which are not quite sculptures. But can you talk about some of the other objects like the carpeting or rug, or found objects, incorporated objects that you bring into the space?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that question. So I guess I should start with the wall treatment. That was a Victorian damask pattern that I unfortunately had to hand stencil on. It was kind of a labor of love. There are some found objects that I just sort of acquired by happenstance, and I thought that they would fit in with the sort of aesthetic that I was trying to create. While other items had to be hunted down. Like, for example, I was really particular about the desk that I needed to have in this space, and really particular about the chair. And thankfully I was able to find those at Mother of Junk, I will say. Some of the objects in this space are things that I already owned and objects that I personally use, such as, for example, you can't really see it from this image, but there's a stone incense holder on that back wall. And that's what I actually use to burn incense at home. And the books that are on this shelf, many of them are of like personal significance for me. This bottom piece is the Taschen book on the tarot, which has inspired my practice over the past 2 years. On the top shelf, I think we've got Carl Jung's Man and His Symbols. And the purple notebook that's on that very top of that top right-hand shelf, that is actually my dream journal itself. And that's not something that visitors would necessarily know, but I'd like to think that it helps to activate the space a little bit more.
Thank you. That's all the time we have.
Perfect.
It's 4:11, let's resume at 4:25.